The desperate plea. The attack begins. The crystal spires of Zephyria Prime gleamed like diamonds against the purple sky as the morning sun cast its gentle light across the peaceful world. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the observation deck of the orbital defense platform, watching cargo vessels drift lazily between the planet and its 3 moons. Her silver hair caught the starlight as she reviewed the daily reports on her holographic display. The Zephyrians had known peace for over 3 centuries, building their civilization on art, science, and trade with neighboring systems. That peace shattered in an instant. Massive shapes emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. Lyra's breath caught in her throat as she counted them. 47 Krellian warships, each one larger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. The attackers moved with predatory grace, forming attack formations as they accelerated toward the inner system. All stations, red alert. Lyra shouted into her communicator. This is not a drill. Krellian forces have entered our system. All civilian traffic, evacuate immediately. The defense platform's alarms wailed as crew members rushed to their positions. Through the massive viewport, Lyra watched in horror as the first wave of Krellian fighters swept toward their small defense fleet. The Zephyrian ships, designed for exploration and peaceful escort duties, were hopelessly outmatched. Overwhelming force. Captain Zenko piloted his patrol cruiser Star Whisper directly into the path of the approaching enemy. His ship, barely a tenth the size of the smallest Krellian vessel, opened fire with its single plasma cannon. The blue energy beam struck the lead enemy ship's shields and scattered harmlessly. Star Whisper to all units, Zenko broadcast on the emergency frequency. Their shields are too strong. Our weapons cannot penetrate. Repeat, standard weapons are ineffective. The Krellian response was swift and merciless. Ruby-red energy beams lanced out from their ships, striking Star Whisper amidships. The small cruiser's hull buckled and tore apart, sending debris spinning into the void. Captain Zenko and his crew of 12 were gone in seconds. Lyra gripped the railing of the observation deck as she watched 5 more Zephyrian ships suffer the same fate. Their entire defense fleet of 20 vessels was being systematically destroyed. The enemy had not even slowed down. "Commander," her tactical officer called out, his voice tight with fear. Long-range sensors show Krellian ground forces preparing for planetary assault. Estimated time to orbital bombardment is 37 minutes. 37 minutes. Lyra closed her eyes and thought of the 6 billion Zephyrians living peacefully on the planet below. Children playing in crystal gardens, artists crafting beautiful sculptures, scientists working to unlock the mysteries of the universe. All of them would be dead or enslaved before the day ended. The Krellian ultimatum. General Thrak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Crusher, watching the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet with satisfaction. The Krellians were a warrior race, standing 9 feet tall with thick gray skin and burning red eyes. They had conquered 43 star systems in the past century, building their empire on the suffering of weaker species. Communications, Thrak growled in his deep voice. Open a channel to the planetary government. Moments later, Commander Lyra's image appeared on the main screen. The Zephyrian leader stood straight despite the fear in her large blue eyes. Her species was known for their peaceful nature and advanced artistic abilities, making them perfect subjects for the Krellian slave markets. "I am General Thrak of the Krellian Dominion," he announced. "Your pathetic fleet has been destroyed. Surrender your world immediately, and your people will be allowed to live as our servants. Resist, and we will turn your planet into a wasteland." Lyra's voice remained steady despite the trembling in her hands. "General, we are a peaceful people. We have never harmed anyone. Why are you attacking us?" Thrak laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Because you are weak, and we are strong. The galaxy belongs to those who can take it. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally." The transmission ended, leaving Lyra staring at a blank screen. Around her, The defense platform's crew looked to her for guidance, but she had no answers. Their military consisted of a few patrol ships and orbital platforms designed to handle pirates and asteroids, not an invasion fleet. The distress call. "Commander," her communications officer said quietly, "all major galactic powers have been informed of our situation. The Centauri Federation offers their sympathy, but cannot risk war with the Krellians. The Androndan Council suggests we negotiate for the best possible terms of surrender." Lyra felt her heart sink. The Zephyrians had two hearts, and both were racing with desperation. Every civilized species in the galaxy knew about the Krellian dominion, and every one of them was too afraid to intervene. The Krellians had never been defeated in battle. "What about the emergency distress protocols?" she asked. "The ones that broadcast on all frequencies, not just diplomatic channels." Her communications officer looked puzzled. "Commander, those reach thousands of systems, including many that are not part of the major alliances. Most of them lack the technology or military capability to help us." "Do it anyway," Lyra ordered. "Send the message to everyone who can receive it. Maybe someone out there cares more about innocent lives than political safety." The young officer worked quickly at his console, preparing a message that would reach every corner of the galaxy. "Recording now, Commander." Lyra stood before the recording device and thought of her people. The children who would never grow up, the artists whose masterpieces would be destroyed, the scientists whose discoveries would be lost forever. She had to try everything. "This is Commander Lyra Voss of the Zephyrian Republic," she began. "We are under attack by the Krellian Dominion. Our defense fleet has been destroyed. In 53 minutes, they will begin bombarding our world. 6 billion innocent civilians will die unless someone helps us. We have never harmed anyone. We ask only to live in peace. If there is anyone out there who believes that innocent lives matter, please help us. We are running out of time." The message launched into space at faster than light speed, racing toward distant stars and unknown civilizations. Earth receives the call. On the third planet of a yellow star, in a quiet spiral arm of the galaxy, Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos was finishing her night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. The facility sat high in the Andes Mountains, its massive dish arrays pointed toward the stars. Santos had been monitoring alien communications for 8 years, ever since humanity had developed faster-than-light radio technology. The emergency transmission from Zephyria Prime came through with crystal clarity. Santos had heard diplomatic messages from dozens of alien species, but never anything like this. The desperation in the alien commander's voice was unmistakable, even through the translation software. She immediately forwarded the message to Earth Defense Command in Geneva. Within minutes, it had reached Admiral Sarah Chen, the commander of Earth's small but growing space fleet. Admiral Chen sat in her office overlooking Lake Geneva, listening to the Zephyrian distress call for the 5th time. At 52 years old, she had spent her entire career preparing for humanity's eventual contact with hostile alien forces. Earth's military had been built on the assumption that the universe was a dangerous place. "Analysis report," she said to her aide, Colonel Martinez. "The Zephyrians appear to be a peaceful, highly advanced civilization." Martinez read from his tablet. "No military conflicts in their recorded history. The Krellian Dominion, however, is described in all intelligence reports as extremely dangerous. They have conquered dozens of worlds and have never been successfully resisted." Admiral Chen stood and walked to her window. Earth's space fleet consisted of 42 warships, built over the past 30 years as humanity prepared for the possibility of alien contact. The ships were designed using the best military technology Earth could produce, incorporating lessons learned from centuries of human warfare. "What's the distance to the Zephyrian system?" she asked. 18 light years. "Admiral, at maximum hyperspace velocity, our fastest ships could reach them in 4 days." 4 days. Chen closed her eyes and imagined 6 billion innocent people waiting for death, while politicians debated and diplomats offered empty sympathy. Humanity had always prided itself on protecting the innocent, regardless of nationality or creed. Could they do less for an alien species in desperate need? Colonel, call an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. We have a decision to make. The decision to act. The emergency session of Earth's Defense Council lasted 3 hours. Representatives from every major nation debated the wisdom of sending Earth's fleet to fight an unknown enemy on behalf of aliens they had never met. The arguments were familiar ones that had echoed through human history whenever good people faced difficult choices. We barely know anything about galactic politics, argued Defense Minister Petrov. Getting involved in an alien war could make Earth a target. The intelligence reports described the Krellians as an expansionist military empire, countered General Williams. If they're allowed to continue conquering peaceful civilizations, how long before they reach Earth? Admiral Chen listened to the debate with growing impatience. Every minute they spent talking was another minute closer to the destruction of Zephyria Prime. Finally, she stood and addressed the council. Ladies and gentlemen, we can analyze the political implications for years, but the moral choice is simple. 6 billion innocent people are about to die. We have the ships and weapons to help them. If we choose not to act, we will have to live with that decision for the rest of our lives. The vote was close, but humanity chose to act. Admiral Chen was authorized to take a fleet to the Zephyrian system and render whatever assistance possible. 6 hours later, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Defiant, as 12 Earth warships prepared for humanity's first interstellar military mission. The ships were smaller than the vessels used by major galactic powers, but they incorporated advanced human technology and centuries of military experience. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump, announced Captain Morrison, her tactical officer. Chen looked out at the stars one last time before Earth disappeared behind them. Somewhere in the darkness, innocent people were fighting for their lives against impossible odds. Humanity was coming to help, and the galaxy was about to learn what humans were capable of when protecting those who could not protect themselves. Jump, she ordered. The 12 ships of Earth's first war fleet vanished into hyperspace, racing toward a distant battle that would change the course of galactic history. Behind them, Earth continued its quiet orbit around the sun, but humanity itself had taken its first step toward becoming something greater. The human response. Arrival at Zephyria Prime. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system, and Admiral Chen immediately understood why every galactic power had refused to help. The space around Zephyria Prime was filled with the wreckage of destroyed ships, twisted metal drifting like a graveyard monument to failed resistance. 47 Krellian warships surrounded the beautiful blue-green planet, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. Tactical report. Chen ordered from the bridge of the UES Defiant. Captain Morrison worked frantically at his console, his face growing pale as the numbers appeared on his screen. Admiral, we're looking at nearly 50 enemy vessels, each one significantly larger than our ships. They've established a complete blockade around the planet. I'm also detecting what appears to be ongoing orbital bombardment of major population centers. Through the main view screen, Chen could see the Krellian flagship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even Earth's largest vessel. Weapon discharges lit up the planet's atmosphere as the bombardment continued, turning cities into infernos and turning millions of innocent lives into statistics. Any sign of surviving Zephyrian forces? She asked. Sensors are picking up 3 vessels hiding in the planet's asteroid belt, Morrison reported. They appear to be heavily damaged and running on minimal power. Chen studied the tactical display with the calculating mind of a career military officer. 12 human ships against 47 alien warships. Under normal circumstances, it would be suicide. But human military doctrine had never been based on normal circumstances. Communications. Can you establish contact with the surviving Zephyrian ships? Working on it now, Admiral. First contact with the survivors. Commander Lyara's face appeared on the main screen, her silver hair disheveled and a bandage covering a cut on her forehead. The Zephyrian leader looked exhausted and heartbroken, but her eyes still held a spark of determination. "Admiral Chen," Lyra said, her voice filled with gratitude and despair. "I cannot believe you actually came, but you must turn back immediately. The Krellian fleet is massive, and their weapons are incredibly powerful. Your 12 ships cannot possibly stand against them." Chen looked at the alien commander with deep respect. Even facing the destruction of her entire civilization, Lyra was trying to protect others from sharing her fate. It reminded the Admiral of the best qualities she had seen in human soldiers throughout her career. "Commander Lyra, I appreciate your concern for my people," Chen replied. "But humanity has a saying. We don't abandon friends in need. We came here to help. And that's exactly what we intend to do." "But Admiral, you don't understand," Lyra insisted. "The Krellian Dominion has never been defeated. Their technology is superior to ours, their weapons are devastating, and their warriors show no mercy. They have conquered every species they have ever encountered." Chen smiled grimly. "Commander, they've never encountered humans before. That's about to change." Before Lyra could respond, alarms began blaring on the human ships as Morrison called out a warning. "Admiral, Krellian patrol squadron approaching. 8 vessels moving to intercept us. Battle stations, all ships," Chen ordered calmly. "Prepare to engage the enemy." The first engagement. General Thrak received the report of the approaching human ships with a mixture of amusement and irritation. His intelligence officers had provided minimal information about this species called humans. They were described as a recently contacted civilization from a single planet, with primitive technology and no significant military victories in galactic conflicts. 12 ships. Thrak growled from his command throne aboard the Iron Crusher. "These humans must be either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Send Squadron Commander Vex to destroy them quickly. I don't want this minor annoyance to delay our conquest schedule." Squadron Commander Vex led 8 Krellian destroyers toward the human fleet with complete confidence. The Krellians had faced countless enemies over their centuries of expansion, and none had ever presented a real challenge. These newcomers would learn why the Krellian Dominion was feared across the galaxy. "Target their lead vessel," Vex commanded. "Destroy it first to break their morale." The Krellian ships opened fire with their plasma cannons, sending streams of superheated energy across space toward the human fleet. It was a standard opening move, designed to test enemy defenses and establish dominance through superior firepower. What happened next shocked every observer in the system. Human military innovation. Instead of trying to dodge the incoming fire or maintain long-range combat distance, the human ships accelerated directly toward the Krellian squadron. Their thick, angular hulls absorbed the plasma blasts while specialized heat dissipation systems vented the excess energy into space. As they closed the distance, the human vessels opened fire with weapons unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The UEA's Defiance main guns launched solid tungsten projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed using magnetic acceleration technology. The kinetic energy was devastating, punching through Krellian shields and armor that had protected them for centuries. Explosive warheads designed to crack Earth's heaviest bunkers tore through enemy hulls like tissue paper. "Impossible," Squadron Commander Vex screamed as his flagship shuddered under the impact of human weapons. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" Captain Morrison coordinated the human attack from the Defiance tactical station. "All ships, execute flanking maneuver delta. Remember, they're built for long-range energy combat. We get in close and use our kinetic advantages." The human ships split into 3 groups, using their superior maneuverability to surround the Krellian squadron. While the aliens tried to maintain formation and exchange fire at a respectful distance, the humans darted between them like wolves attacking a herd, striking weak points and coordinating their attacks with mathematical precision. In less than 8 minutes, 6 of the 8 Krellian ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 2 vessels tried to retreat, but human fighters launched from the fleet's carriers hunted them down with guided missiles. Commander Vex's final transmission was filled with panic and disbelief. General Thrak. The humans. Their weapons. How is this possible? They fight like nothing we've ever encountered. Galactic shock. The destruction of the Krellian patrol squadron sent shockwaves throughout the system. On the surviving Zephyrian ships, crews stared at their sensors in amazement. Commander Lyra gripped her chair's armrests as she processed what she had just witnessed. Did that really happen? Her tactical officer whispered. 12 human ships just destroyed 8 Krellian vessels without taking significant damage. Lyra nodded slowly, her mind racing. The humans had accomplished in minutes what the entire Zephyrian defense fleet had failed to do. Their weapons were different, their tactics were aggressive, and their ships seemed designed for the kind of close-quarters combat that most civilized species had abandoned centuries ago. "Open a channel to Admiral Chen," she ordered. When the connection was established, Lyra looked at the human commander with new respect and hope. "Admiral, what you just did, it should have been impossible. How did you defeat them so easily?" Chen's expression remained focused and determined. "Commander, human military technology developed differently than most species. We've spent centuries fighting each other, learning lessons that peaceful civilizations never needed to learn. Our weapons are designed to destroy the most heavily defended targets on Earth, and our tactics are based on mobility and overwhelming force at decisive points. But there are still nearly 40 enemy ships surrounding our planet," Lyra pointed out. "Can your 12 vessels really face that many opponents?" "We're about to find out," Chen replied. "All human ships prepare for final approach to the main enemy fleet. Today we show the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for, regardless of the odds." The main battle. General Thrak watched the approaching human fleet with growing concern mixed with rage. The easy destruction of his patrol squadron had been humiliating, but he still commanded nearly 40 warships against 12 enemy vessels. The humans had won their first engagement through surprise and unconventional tactics, but now they would face the full might of the Krellian Dominion. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Thrak commanded. "Focus fire on the human flagship. Destroy their leader and the rest will break." The massive Krellian fleet moved into a defensive formation around their flagship, creating overlapping fields of fire that should have annihilated any attacking force. Their plasma cannons began charging for maximum power output, preparing to unleash devastating barrages that had shattered the defenses of dozens of worlds. Admiral Chen studied the enemy formation on her tactical display and saw exactly what she had expected. The Krellians fought like medieval knights, emphasizing honor, formation discipline, and overwhelming firepower. They had never faced an enemy that refused to play by those rules. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega," she broadcast to her fleet. "Target their command vessel, but remember the civilians on the planet below. Keep the battle away from the inhabited areas." The human fleet split into 4 groups and accelerated toward different points in the Krellian formation. Instead of approaching in a straight line where the enemy could concentrate their fire, the human ships used complex 3-dimensional maneuvers, diving above and below the orbital plane, while using the planet's gravity well to boost their speed. As they closed distance, the humans opened fire with everything they had. Kinetic projectiles slammed into Krellian ships at incredible velocity, while guided missiles sought out weak points in enemy armor. The human vessels were designed to fight at point-blank range, where their weapons would have maximum effect. The battle became a swirling melee as human ships darted between the larger Krellian vessels, too close for the enemy's main guns to track effectively. Admiral Chen's flagship, the UES Defiant, led a direct assault on General Thrak's dreadnought, its armor scared but intact as it weathered the storm of enemy fire. The turning point. Captain Morrison coordinated the attack on the Krellian flagship from his tactical station, sweat beading on his forehead as he calculated firing solutions while enemy weapons hammered their shields. "Admiral, their main ship is heavily armored. Our standard kinetic rounds aren't penetrating deep enough to reach critical systems." "Then we use the special ammunition," Chen replied calmly. "Load the experimental tungsten penetrators and target their reactor housing." The experimental rounds had been developed on Earth for bunker-busting operations, designed to punch through hundreds of meters of reinforced concrete and steel. Against the Krellian dreadnought's armor, they performed exactly as intended. The tungsten penetrators struck the enemy flagship's power systems and detonated deep inside the hull. Secondary explosions rippled through the massive vessel as its main reactor lost containment. General Thrax's final moments were spent watching his bridge dissolve in nuclear fire. With their commander dead and their flagship destroyed, the Krellian fleet began to break apart. Some vessels tried to retreat to hyperspace, while others attempted to surrender. The human ships pursued the fleeing enemies, ensuring they would never return to threaten Zephyria Prime. Victory and recognition. In the aftermath of the battle, space around Zephyria Prime was filled with the debris of destroyed Krellian ships. Of the 47 enemy vessels that had arrived to conquer the system, only 3 damaged ships escaped into hyperspace. The human fleet had lost 2 vessels and suffered damage to several others, but they had achieved complete victory against impossible odds. Commander Lyra brought her damaged ship alongside the UES Defiant, tears streaming down her face as she addressed Admiral Chen. "Admiral, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved 6 billion innocent lives without asking for anything in return. The galaxy will remember what humanity did here today." Chen looked out at the beautiful blue-green world they had fought to protect, where cities were no longer burning and children could play safely in crystal gardens. "Commander, we didn't do this for recognition or reward. We did it because it was right. That's what humans do when innocent people need help." Word of the battle spread across the galaxy at faster-than-light speed. The species that had refused to help the Zephyrians now watched in amazement as reports described how 12 human ships had defeated the supposedly invincible Krellian Dominion. Diplomatic channels buzzed with requests for more information about this new species that had changed the balance of galactic power in a single day. On Earth, Admiral Chen's fleet returned to heroes' welcomes, but more importantly, they had established humanity's reputation as protectors of the innocent. Other threatened civilizations began sending requests for assistance, and Earth's shipyards worked around the clock to build more vessels for humanity's growing role as galactic peacekeepers. The Zephyrians erected monuments to the human crews who had died protecting their world, and Commander Lyra became Earth's first alien ambassador. She spent the rest of her life telling anyone who would listen about the species that had answered their desperate call when no one else would. Years later, when historians studied the Battle of Zephyria Prime, they identified it as the moment when humanity truly joined the galactic community, not as newcomers seeking acceptance, but as champions of justice who had proven that some principles were worth fighting for regardless of the odds. The galaxy had cried for help, and Earth's war fleet had responded with courage, innovation, and an unshakable commitment to protecting the innocent. It was humanity's first step toward becoming the species that others would call when darkness threatened to overwhelm the light.